Howdy, and welcome to the MrMaple Show. Today we're bringing you the 10 at 10 for October 24th of 2024.
Dude, I'm proud of you for saying the date. You never do that. Welcome to the 10 at 10, guys. It's Thursday. We've got a great lineup for you. Don't forget, October 26th is coming up real quick. We got a 10 at 10 right around the corner. We're gonna be giving away a free tree tomorrow morning live on MrMaple at 9 a.m. in the chat. Come watch that chat. We'll be giving you details about the open house. We're gonna be having a costume contest. We're giving away a Bloody Talons to the winner. Guys, it's gonna be a fun one. Be here this Saturday, October 26th for the open house. But the 10 at 10s don't stop. We've got a great one. We've got a great lineup for you here today.
We'll start off with Acer Rubrum Vanity. This is an Acer Rubrum that's variegated. So this is a native selection of a variegated red maple. Y'all, pink on white variegation in the early spring on that green leaf. And then in the fall, you get some nice red colors.
You're so vain, you probably think this tree was named for you. Guys, this is awesome. Vanity is one of the most quintessential variegated rubrums. Crazy colors on this one. We walked around Seabright Gardens with Talon Buckholtz last year in a video. You've got to go see this large specimen of Vanity there. Pinks, whites, yellows going on all at the same time in that spring display. I love it in this fall color too. That red maple shows out. You get that red with some pink undertones going on in there. Really a beautiful plant. Give it some sunlight. It's a good grower, shows out, and just that variegation is so nice that new growth, even midsummer, can really stop in your tracks.
Now do avoid high amounts of nitrogen because you can get a lot more green if you're promoting a lot of growth with nitrogen. You know, low nitrogen's fine. Really, if you can avoid fertilizer, you're really getting the best variegation though.
Ooh, we'll see. I think this one's gonna be a popular one today. We'll see what sells out first, this one or today's Macawa form. That's a teaser for you guys coming up. All right, y'all, next we've got a Rangea Aspara Burgundy Bliss coming back to a 10 at 10.
Yep, y'all, this is one of those hydrangeas that has this sort of velvet-like kind of leaf to it. Very unique and different. Has the burgundy color to the leaves themselves. So this is a colorful foliage plant out there in the garden. It's going to be about 4 to 5 feet in height by 4 to 5 foot in width in 10 years. And it has a nice lace cap on it that is really beautiful for a hydrangea.
All right, y'all, these are going to be hardy zone 7 through 9. As Tim mentioned, this is a lace cap hydrangea. The foliage is beautiful, but the bloom can change a little bit depending on the pH. So you can get some pinks to those blues depending on the level of pH of the soil.
Yeah, more of the lime will give more of those pink colors, where more of the acidity, more acidic soils will give more of those blue colors to the lace cap. Pair this out there in your garden with a Japanese maple because it's got that burgundy foliage, or put something out there like the little honeys, the Hydrangea quercifolia little honeys that we've listed. You know, you can have the yellows out there pairing with the purple leaves. I love colorful leaves, and when you can do that with a hydrangea that blooms as well, that's a win-win.
Because of the foliage on this one looks great in a container, you can move it around, adjust it in the garden. Absolutely makes a showpiece all on its own, and I think you're gonna love this one. Grab it today on the 10 at 10. All right, y'all, next we're bringing back Acer Pomade Ramona. This is a fan favorite. It's a fairly new one. I love this one for its summery display. Rivals Orange Dream for some of that crazy pink and yellow coloration to it. I think it's probably my favorite late summer though.
Yeah, early spring, you get a little bit of a spring orange to it. Then it goes to a green. But right in that late summer when a lot of maples don't have a lot of really unique interest, this one really steals the show because the green leaves go to like this yellow. And then the new growth on top of that is orange. And so you get this really nice two-tone effect on this Japanese maple that you don't get on many other selections.
Yeah, these are gonna work zones 5 through 9, typically around 6 to 7 foot in a 10-year span. Heavily serrated leaf stands out for that. I love the color patterns on this, so it's a great tree for the container, but it's also got great texture and color. Really a great overall appearance to it. I do recommend some late day shade in some of the hotter zones. You'll get more of that kind of pale yellow if you're giving it early morning sun with late day protection. It's a showstopper though. People have really been impressed with this one, and I think it's one that's going to continue to grow in popularity.
Guys, next up, we've got Acer Pomade Peev Starfish.
I recently did a collector's corner where I talked about my favorite fall color plant, and for red, it's hard to beat Peev Starfish, guys. This one can get some crazy pink reds in it. It's a great plant for getting kids into gardening too, because it has that starfish-like quality. My daughters are Little Mermaid fans, so they're always going to remember to go check on the starfish in the garden. Really a cool tree though. That cup down look gives it a very regal, interesting appearance to it. Fall color is underrated though. I mean, this thing has not hit its peak yet for the fall. They can get really intense pink red to them. I think you're gonna love this one. Not uncommon for late summer growth. I always let people know to be flattened out on this one. So if you get one, late summer growth can be a little irregular. It's typically not as curled. Don't trim that out. It's gonna come back curled next spring.
Now, Peev Starfish has that unique texture where the leaf cups down like a starfish. This gives a unique aspect in the garden that's very intriguing. The other thing that's really usable about this tree in the landscape is it will get to about 8 feet in height in 10 years. And so it's a little bit slower growing than something like Fire Glow, making it even be able to fit in smaller gardens than many of your other red uprights.
Great container plant and a great texture plant too. I love this one for really just adding a whole different display for a Japanese maple. A great one to pair with many of the yellows like Summer Gold or even Anti-Rain for that difference in color. Deep maroon throughout the spring and summer. Again, we're in late, right before fall color here, and you see how dark maroon this is. When it gets into its full display on the fall, pink red is the best way I can describe it because it's like an electric pink red. Absolutely love it, y'all. Grab you a Peev Starfish today. We'll be offering these in our 1 gallons. Another fan favorite hitting the 10 at 10 today, guys. We're bringing back Acer Pomade Firefly. Now, this is one we named here at MrMaple. One of my favorite all-time variegated plants. The reticulated display on this is second to none.
This has a really nice, strong, upright form. And in the early spring, you can get some just outstanding shades of pink with creamy white, with green veins. For me, this is hard to beat when it comes to that reticulated ghost style.
You've heard us say it, but get your camera ready. Every week you can take different photos of this, and they're gonna look different in every single season. So your spring foliage is not gonna look like your summer foliage. Bold reds typically in the fall on this one. Now, we don't consider it truly columnar, but it is a much more narrow footprint than most of your reticulated ghost type maples. So it doesn't get quite as wide, which is great because it fits in a lot smaller spaces, typically around 10 to 12 foot, 6 foot wide tree with a lot of arching up branching. Absolutely a showstopper though. I think if you get this one established in your ground, it's gonna be a fan favorite for you as well. Everybody gets this when they say there's no way those photos are real, and then they start posting photos in the MrMaple Friends group. You can go in there and put in Firefly because it's a fan favorite for sharing. And sharing is caring with your photos. We love to see those in the MrMaple Friends group. Firefly, always one of the top photograph plants.
Yeah, and this is a tree that has pretty much been fairly exclusive here at MrMaple for quite a while. We're the people who put the name on Firefly itself. We didn't find it, but we're able to put that name Firefly here. And y'all, to me, this is one of the most outstanding trees you need to have in your garden.
Just in time for fall, let's bring back Acer Pomade Iwo Sago.
Yeah, we recently did a top 5 fall colors with Joel Johnson. That's coming up on one of our top 5s on the MrMaple Show. He mentions Iwo Sago. You'll have to watch that video to figure out where it falls.
Phenomenal plant, guys. I love how dark this thing can get too. That spring foliage can get you some crazy shades. It kind of gets a yellowish undertone to it. Even the stemming has kind of a yellowy green vibe to it, which is really interesting for that darker foliage.
Yeah, this is a classic selection. It's an older selection from the 1800s, and y'all, it is still just outstanding today. When this hits fall color and you see the yellows and oranges come into it, it's hard to beat Iwo Sago.
I love early spring. It's not reticulated, but it kind of gives you those reticulated vibes because you get that yellow veining through a lot of that darker foliage, and so it just gives it something extra. It looks like it's etched out on every single leaf, and with that color of the bark, I think it's just super next level. Now, the fall color ain't nothing to scoff at, like Tim said. Great fall color. These will be lighting up very soon here. Hopefully, maybe you'll see some at open house. We'll see. Come see us October 26th. Guys, when we tell you we're beefing up numbers, we just got these in from the Buckholtz farm. Buckholtz grown Acer Pomade Kryptonites.
Y'all, Kryptonite was a sport found on Makawiyetsubusa, and it's so unique. It often has new growth during the summer that looks almost like Manino Sato, but on a Makawiyetsubusa selection.
It's my favorite of the variegated Makawa forms. It's so well defined. Like, I love how the variegation looks. It's a great grower, small to mid-sized tree, similar in growth rate to that of something like Mayday, around 4 foot in 10 years, maybe 5 foot on a very mature one. Very nice density to it. It's got that famous density you see with Makawiyetsubusa, the same orangey red fall colors, but you get those offset by that lime green to yellow whiteness going on those swirls. This one actually leafs out and doesn't look variegated. So a lot of people next spring are gonna go, hey, you sold me a devariegated Kryptonite. They start out a little bit more green with subtle lines. That secondary flush gets crazy. So very soon into there, you'll start to see a ton of that variegation. I think about right when most trees are starting to get a little bit greener, that's when Kryptonite's at its best to me. When a lot of the reds are starting to get into a little bit more of their summer shade, that's when Kryptonite, it just starts to have a glow to it in the garden.
Yeah, and To me, there's not, there are other variegated Macaulay Boostas, but this one is more refined on its variegation than what you often find on some of the other selections. And it really stands out. If you put this out there in the garden, you notice the difference here. And the first time Matt and I saw this tree, we were just going crazy for the sport. We're like, this is insane. And Matt ended up putting the name on Kryptonite because, Superman gets weak at the knees and when he sees Kryptonite, and a Japanese maple collector will get weak at the knees when they see this Japanese maple.
A huge Superman fan growing up. This one kind of has that glow and quality. It just had that shiny green rock. I mean, it almost had that variegation really made it even pop a little bit more. I'm a huge fan of this one. I think you guys will love it as it gets out there more. Our goal is always to keep bringing you some of the best ones back. So we're bringing back Kryptonite. These will sell out quickly today here on Mr. Maple. If you have this one in cart, you might want to go ahead and check out, then go back and add additional items. You can always call our office to combine orders as well. Kryptonite will definitely sell out today, though, even though there is a great size set of these Buckholz grown Kryptonites. Another fun plant right in time for winter, guys. It's early. They're hitting a little bit of fall color, but my favorite time for Bihu is in those winter months. We're bringing back Acer Pomade and Bihu. You're going to see why this one is a spark of color in that boring winter garden.
Yeah, I mean, the green leaves in the early spring are outstanding over top of the yellow, from the yellow being there from that previous winter. The bark isn't as intense during the summer, but then as fall approaches, it intensifies. And that's what you're starting to see right now is that bright, intense bark. And when you see a specimen of this in fall color, where you see the yellow leaves and the yellow bark, it looks like a little kid just took a highlighter and colored the whole tree the same color. It's insane. It seems unreal. And it's one of those trees that is dynamic in the fall. And when those leaves fall off, you really see that bark.
Guys, this one's a fun one. It's going to grow zone 6 through 9. Dry soils are key for this one. I mean boggy, wet feet, especially in the colder winter months. You want to make sure it's not staying wet. Phenomenal plant, though. Green throughout the spring and summer, like Tim was saying, golden yellow in the fall. Really, when it's naked, that's when it looks its best, though. When it's dropped all its leaves there in the winter, this thing shows out.
Y'all, next up, we've got Acer Pomade Dragon Master coming back to a 10 at 10. It's one of our most popular weeping selections of the yellow cascading form. Leaves out in the early spring with bright orange leaves and has that heavily cascading habit, similar to something like Rayusen.
It's an all-hitters 10 at 10, guys. Dragon Master, one of our own selections. It's like the weeping Orange Dream. I referenced Orange Dream earlier. I find this to hold its color better than Orange Dream. Man, it's got a big leaf. It's got pale to pink new growth on it. Intense oranges in the early spring. Extremely cascading. Stake this one up to about 5 to 6 foot. That's what I recommend. Let it weep down from there. It's really malleable, just like Rayusen styles. You can play with it and shape it however you want. Great for a big blue container. It's one of my favorite trees to put in a big blue pot because that orange and then that pale yellow shows out so much. You do want to give this one some shade in the hot afternoon sun, some of the hotter regions. It is going to work zones 5 through 9 though. Definitely some shade in those, 8 and 9, but just a showstopper for the color.
Yeah, I mean, the color is just going to give you that yellow weeping style. Pair this with anything you like, really, because that yellow is going to make everything look better in the garden. Something like a Blood Goat or Emperor One pairs so naturally with the yellow cascading shape of Dragon Master, but this thing is just going to be beautiful all on its own.
Grab you a Dragon Master today, they will sell out.
So next up, we've got some XL 1 gallons of Acer Platinoides Golden Globe. Most of the time we've offered this, it's been cut back and had this nice little ball shape. These have actually been staked up, and so it gets it to start off that ball shape at a higher point. Early spring, this leaves out as a bright yellow. Give it some sunlight, and this thing is just going to make a beautiful yellow in the garden.
Beautiful Acer Platinoides, guys. This one makes that rounded ball absolutely phenomenal. I've had crazy shades on this one in the fall, too. It's a fan favorite, though, for that structure. Typically a 5x5 globe. Really a fun one to be growing. And again, the texture is everything with this one. It looks great in a big container because of that ball shape.
Now in the fall, Golden Globe also goes to a yellow in the fall, so it's yellow all throughout the seasons. It's a Norway maple that's just very different and unique than what you typically find on Acer Platinoides.
I've had this thing just absolutely showing out in the fall for kind of a yellow with infused oranges in it. Really just a beautiful tree. That bigger leaf is a great palette for that fall color. And again, a little bit bigger than your normal ones. These are staked up, so a little bit more beefy, a little bit taller. Gives you a better starting point for that sphere it's going to turn into. I think you're going to love this one. You're going to see why it's a fan favorite.
Y'all, that was 10 of our 20 trees. For the other 10 trees, check out our weekly email. They also list today at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on MrMaple.com.
Guys, see you at open house. Let us know in the comments below if you're going to be there. Take care.
God bless.
And have a great day.